All right, let's do this. Okay, guys, welcome to Recruiting 101, Guide to Being. No, let's start. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Coach Cortez with Recruit University. What we're going to share with you today is some strategies and tips to help you get your student athlete recruited and gain some exposure. That's why we're all here. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I grew up on a small town in the eastern shore of Maryland. And where I grew up, I was seeing there was a ton of athletes there who are very, very talented on the field and on the court, but they just didn't do anything with that talent. They weren't able to take that with them and transition to college. And the reason at that time I did not know what it was, I assumed just like everybody else, it must not have been good enough. You see, people have this theory that if you're good enough, then coaches will find you. Well, most of the time, that's just not the case, especially if you come from a small town. So I started coaching, and then as I was coaching, I met several prolific coaches, and I asked them like what were they doing to have the success to get their kids to college, and some of them even got their kids to the pros. And they gave me the blueprint. I followed that blueprint, and I started having success, helping kids get to college. Then more people started asking me for their help, and I'm going to just give you those same strategies as well. All right, so wrote a book called Recruiting 101, a guide to being recruited for college sports. This is a guide that you should get to have with you along your journey. Starting your ninth grade year, the recruiting process starts when you're a freshman in high school. So having this with you on the way will be a huge bonus. That way you know what is coming and what is expected of you along the way. And you don't have to wait until your junior or senior year to start getting serious about college and then try to play catch up. So it's available on our website directly at recruituniversity.org/shop, or you can get it at Amazon as well. First thing, control what you can control. There's no sense on stressing about things that you can't control. First thing you got to do is you got to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center, or if you're going to be in the NAIA, go to their Eligibility Center as well. You can go to eligibilitycenter.org for more information on that. All right, the NCAA requires a 2.3 unweighed GPA. That means that it's based on your core classes, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But your gym classes, your cooking classes, stuff like that, the easy stuff doesn't count. It's got to be your maths, your sciences, your Englishes, stuff like that is your core classes. So everything else that fluffs your grade point average does not count. They only look at the specific core classes and they weigh those, right? Also, I want you to understand that all 4 years count. So sometimes people think they go just on the last year, on your senior year, the grades, or each year it starts over. It doesn't start over. It averages from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th. Average. They take every single grade from your core classes and average those, and that gets the GPA that the colleges actually look at. Okay, it does not start over every year. All right, NCAA uses a 4.0 scale. I know some places use a 5.0, some high schools do, but the NCAA is 4. Okay, an A is 4 points, B is 3, a C is 2, a D is 1. Right? So they're going to take the average of that, and that's going to find your core GPA. So here's some more about core classes. You can talk to your guidance counselors to get a list of approved core classes to make sure that you're on the right track from the very beginning, so you don't have to go back and fix your mistakes. All right. So here's a list of core classes. So like I said, your Englishes, creative writing, any kind of literature, your any kind of math classes, algebra, geometry, trig, all of that, any of your sciences, as well as any histories or social sciences. Also foreign language, your Spanishes, your French, stuff like that. Those are core classes. Here's what's not core classes, all these extra fluff classes. They're fun, but they don't do anything as far as your GPA towards your eligibility. All right. And also anything taught below grade level. So you can take a math class, but if it's not up to where your grade level is, that's not going to count as well. All right. Sometimes you have to take those classes anyway to get to the next level. That just means you have to do extra work. So any non-academic classes, anything taught below your grade level will not be considered a part of your core classes. Remember, you're a student athlete, not just an athlete. You got to be a student first. Your standardized testing. This is one that you want to pay close attention to because you can get a lot of money in grants and financial aid from a good score. and you can retake these. All right. So which one should you take? People always ask, should I take the SAT? Should I take the ACT? Should I do both? Which one should I take? Well, it all depends on where your strengths are. I would say try both, see which one you're best at, and then do that one again. Okay. You can take these tests more than once. All right. So here's a list of the breakdown here. Basically, the SAT, you're going to do reading, math, and writing. Okay. If that's your strong suits, that's what you want to go with. Their grading scale, you can go up to a 1600. That's the highest score that you can get. The lowest score you can get is a 400. The average for the SAT is a 1040. If you want to go to college, you want to be above average. You don't want to be average or around average. You want to get your score above average. You want to shoot for 1040 or higher, like maybe 1100. That's where you want to shoot for. Okay. Because you want to separate yourself from the rest. It's very competitive and you can take it multiple times. The ACT, you got reading, math, writing, and then science is added on. So if you're strong in science, you see science is not listed on SAT, but science is on the ACT. Maybe you want to look further to that route. And their score goes from a 1 to a 36, where the average score is a 20.8. So that's going to be your floor. Average is probably going to be your floor. That's where you want to hit about 20, 21, and somewhere in that area, and then go higher than that. Okay, because anything lower than average, you're probably not going to get much of a financial aid or much of a grant. And that's where it's most important, not just the admissions part, but mostly important for your grants and financial aid. Okay, and again, you can take these tests multiple times. I recommend not just showing up and taking the test, but also preparing yourself, doing practice tests, practice quizzes, getting flashcards, investing in some books, investing in tutoring, whatever you have, because this can save you a lot of money by taking these tests. All right. Before you really invest all that time and money, you got to ask yourself, is this something that I really want to do? If this is something that I really want to do for 4 years, it's not going to be the same as high school. It's going to be a grueling schedule, very grueling. And this is going to be a consistent schedule. This schedule here is a typical schedule. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m., get some breakfast. Then after breakfast, you're going to go down to your strength and conditioning. After that, you got a team meeting. All right, and we got time to get showered and get ready to go to classes at 9. We'll just start do our classes at 9 through 2 and get some lunch somewhere in between there. Okay, now I'm going to watch some film. All right, and then we're going to get ready to get taped up before practice or iced up before practice, whatever you got to do before practice to get ready. All right, then we're going to have a team practice. After team practice, let's get showered, get treatment. All right, we're going to come out and get dinner. 7:30, it's time to get working on your homework or any other studying that you might have to do. 9:30 to midnight, finish your homework, maybe get some sleep. You see, there's not a lot of time in there for entertainment, right? Watching the movies and the shows, you see college as some of the fun times of your years. When you're a student athlete, you're not going to be able to do the same things other students are doing. Athletes are held to a higher standard and they're expected to do more. And all on top of that, they're not getting paid for this. There's no time to get a job. There's no time to go to parties and movies and all the other stuff. You have to actually plan and be intentional about this because it's going to be grueling. You got to wake up and go to multiple practices a day, lift weights. Like there's so much you have to do. And this is just expected of you. And you got to do more than the regular student's going to have to do. Like the regular students has time to get all that homework done and their essays and meet up with friends and do all those fun things. A student athlete does not have time to do that. So you really have to ask yourself, is this something that I really want to do? Because sometimes kids get out there after they graduate high school, they try it out their freshman year and they realize it's not for them. Not just as a student athlete, but college in general, some kids fall off their freshman year because it's such a big transition. So as a student athlete, it's going to be 10 times harder for you, that transition. So you have to prepare yourself mentally to get ready for something like this. And nobody's there holding you accountable. Mom and dad's not going to be at school with you. Your teachers, if you can show up or not show up, they're not going to come track you down. You have to really want to do this and hold yourself accountable. So if this is not for you, then I would tell you to turn around now. Okay. But other than that, you make sure you get ready because it's going to be a grind. All right. So again, doing what athletes do. I just want you to show you some of the extras that kids are doing right now. This is one of my buddies' training facilities out in Humble, Texas, called Arm Sports Performance. He trains kids from all kinds of sports: track and field, swimming, basketball, football. This kid's a soccer player here. So this is the extra stuff that you have to do to get recruited and separate yourself from the other kids. Okay, you have to put the training in, put the work in. This is stuff outside of practice that you're doing individually. So let's take a look here. Okay, so you see he's working on footwork, eye coordination, and just doing stuff that'll actually transition to his actual game. Let's look at somebody else to see what they have. So you saw the resistance bands there on a treadmill, proper form, running, working on speed and form at a young age. This is what kids are doing to separate themselves and make it to the next level. You don't just show up and play and they're like, oh, you're a good player. Here's a scholarship. No, you actually have to work at this. Let's see this one.
Come on.
Can you guess what sport she's in? Obviously swimming, right? She's got the ball there to hold her up, but you're using the Vertimex to work on resistance and work on the different strokes. You don't even have to be in the pool and you can still get your work in. So whatever sport you play, you have to train your body. You have to do more than what is asked of you if you want to make it to the next level. This is what separates the good from the great. This is what separates the guys who get scholarships from the guys who don't. You have to actually do more. You have to study when nobody's telling you to study. You have to prepare when nobody's telling you to prepare. You have to train when nobody's telling you to train. This is what you have to do in order to make sure coaches want you. The next thing we're going to talk about is movies, right? Everybody loves movies. So one thing that I always say is you don't go to the movies to see a movie that you've never seen a preview for. So you decide whether or not you want to see a full 90-minute to 2-hour movie based on maybe like a 1 minute or 2 minute commercial. Maybe not even 2 minutes, maybe 30 seconds even. So you watch those commercials on TV and you say, oh, wow, yeah, I want to go see that movie when it comes out. And then you go see the full movie. Or you say, man, that doesn't look very good. I'm not going to see that. That's the same thing that coaches do with your highlight film. You have to make sure your film in the first 30 seconds of the video is good enough or exciting enough where a coach will want to see the full game. They're not going to just watch a full game. You know, there's people out there who say, oh, coaches watch game film. They don't care about highlights. Well, in order for them to go spend that time to invest in a full game, they want to see the highlights first. And if the highlights are good, then I'm going to watch the full game, if that makes sense to you. If the highlights are not good in the first 30 seconds, they're going to just exit off and find somebody else's, especially in today's world where the attention span is so short and it's so easy to just go to the next video. You have to capture in the first 30 seconds what you want the coach to see. So you put your best plays first. You don't want it to build up and wait until the end. You don't want to put it in chronological order based on first game, second game, third game, fourth game. Put your best plays first and capture the coach's attention to make them want to see more. That's the goal. It's not just, they don't have a responsibility to look at everything. They don't have time to turn over every stone. Put your best stuff first. And also make sure you look good in the film. I've seen several times kids want to show off maybe their speed or something like that. And this is football. Maybe they make a bad play, a guy runs by them and is gone, but they want to show them catching up to them. So that does not make you look good because number one, they weren't supposed to get by you in the first place. So you already made yourself look bad on tape. I'm not looking at how fast you were running. I'm looking at you made a mistake. So you don't want to highlight your mistakes just to try to show off your speed or show every single part of your game. Like, I want to show my block. I want to show me doing a rebound or something, and it doesn't look good. Like sometimes the ball just comes to you and you got to rebound. Sometimes, you might be standing in a guy's way and you got to block or you put your hands on. You got to show something that is going to grab their attention and say, oh, wow, he looks like a good player. She looks like a good player. All right. No lucky plays, because that happens sometimes. Or if you don't get much playing time, and this is one where I see a lot, players who don't get a lot of playing time just want to have a highlight film and send something out. They'll put in every play that they were involved in some fashion and use that on their highlight tape. If it's not a highlight, don't use it. Okay. Just use the good plays. Don't make yourself look bad, please. All right. So make sure you're easily identifiable. That's a hard one. A lot of times when guys or girls send us film, we can't find who we're looking for. Obviously, you know who you are when you're making the film, and you're easy to find because you know who you are. So make sure that you either circle yourself or put an arrow over yourself so that way we can find you. And we want to see the play develop fully. We want to see what happens right before the play. We want to see what happens throughout. So don't cut it up to a point where all we see is like flashes of you and glimpses. We want to see the full thing. We want to see it play out. A lot of times, kids have gotten scholarships based on somebody else's highlights because the coach didn't know what to look for, but somebody called their attention, and it may have been somebody on the other team. So you were helping somebody else get a scholarship when you were trying to help yourself. So yeah, you know who you are, or you know who your son is, or your daughter, but make sure we are looking at the person we're supposed to look for. Okay, just try to look at it on a different perspective as somebody who has never seen this kid before, never seen this team. So we don't know what color they are. We don't know what color their jersey are, or what color their or what their jersey number is. We don't know what we're looking for. So make sure you highlight yourself, make it easy for you to find. So here, like I said, you can spotlight yourself at the beginning of the play or as soon as you come into the picture. Don't put every play in. We don't want to make you look bad. All right, brand management. So what is brand management? So word, name, a symbol used to identify its products distinctively from others. Okay, remember, distinctively from others of the same type and usually displayed on its products and advertising. So I think about this a lot when you are going grocery shopping and you see like a name brand versus another type of product. So what makes it different is one gets a lot of commercials or advertising and you know that name. The other is just a store brand, so they don't really put much into that brand, right? So you typically buy the one that you know, right, or that you've heard of before. Okay, that's the brand management. Okay, same with people too. You know, you have a brand, so we are going to create a brand. We want people to know who we are. So you're going to use all kinds of different ways to get your name out there. You know, a lot of times we'll use Twitter. That's where a lot of coaches are now, or Instagram, or any type of social media. You want to share your different workouts. You want to share clips of your highlights, anything that's going to make you look good and make you stand out. I mean, you're watching other kids on social media and you see highlights on different platforms and be like, oh, wow, this kid's look really good. But before they get to that point, somebody had to upload the video. And you can do the same thing for yourself that these other guys are doing. And it's not that this guy's a big name, like a Zion Williamson, who came out of nowhere. He was doing these crazy dunks and it started to get noticed and go viral, right? People didn't know who he was before that, but somebody had to capture it on tape and upload it. You got to capture everything on tape, guys. If your coaches are not putting or recording your games, then you got to get out there and record your games as well. All right, you are your brand. Your skills are a product or service. So another thing with that, the coaches are buying your brand, and then you are representing their brand, that school, that organization, that name. So you have to be careful with that too, because everything you do, your name is going to be tied to that program, and they're not going to tolerate their program getting their name bashed. So if you're doing something silly on Twitter or social media, we've seen a lot of stupid stuff where kids are posting dumb things. You can lose your scholarship. You lose your opportunities by doing that. So it's not that you're not talented enough. They just don't know who you are yet. So the way to make sure they know who you are is, use the email, right? You email the coach, contact them, follow up. And also you got to know that your coaches don't have the time to help you. Some people say the coach is not helping me. And this is why you're here now, because you don't know what to do next. Coach is not helping me. I don't know how to get my kid recruited. Well, the coaches just might not know. I mean, coaches have the job first. Most of the time they're teachers. They have to create a lesson plan, teach your class, grade their homework. Then they have to go coach, create a lesson plan, coach practice. Then when they get home from practice, they still have their family. Some coaches even have second jobs. So they may not have time, or they don't automatically know how recruiting works. It's not a science. Oh, because you became a coach, now you have access to all these different recruiting or college coaches just because you became a coach. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to seek out this information and to know what to do. They're not going to come running to you just because they're a coach. So a lot of times the coaches just don't know. They want to, they just don't know. Also, when contacting the schools, you have to know that they're not allowed to contact you back as a parent or a student. They can contact your coach or the school or even a third party like Recruit University. They can return our calls or our messages, but they can't return yours until contact period. And we'll talk about that in a second, right? So you can keep calling them and calling them and calling them, but it's difficult when they can't call you back. But that's where Twitter comes in handy. If you don't have a Twitter account, get a Twitter account today. Get an Instagram account today. So on Twitter, coaches can contact your student and they can DM them. And that's where a lot of recruiting is done nowadays, is on Twitter. It's like the Wild West there. Anything goes. So a lot of scholarships have been offered through that platform. So make sure you get it. And make sure you're sharing your video and retweeting your video and being smart. All right. The recruiting calendar, like I said, as long as it's a contact period, that they can be in contact with you. Okay. The contact period. Okay. So the coach can make an in-person off-campus visit. They can come see you. The quiet period. You can go on campus to the visit. You're allowed to come there. Also with the contact period, you'll learn a little bit more about the recruiting calendar, how specific it is. They can't just come anytime they want to see you. They can come maybe once a week or once a month, depending on your sport. The evaluation period, they're allowed to come to your games or anything else, but they may not be allowed to talk to you, right? Unless it's a contact period. I've heard of people getting upset that a coach came to their game, but they didn't even talk to them. Well, the reason they didn't talk to them because they weren't allowed through the NCAA's rules. It's a lot of crazy rules that NCAA has to promote fairness, I guess. Somebody's complaining, other people have a leg up. So, they're not allowed to talk to you sometimes. They can talk to the coach, but they can't say a word to the student at a game. It's crazy. And then there's the dead period. There's no contact at all. Recruiting does not happen during the dead period. Okay. So some of our success stories. Our first student that we helped here, he went to a Division I school. We helped a kid go to NAIA school there when it did not look like he had opportunity. He worked with us for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden we got him several opportunities to get looked at. We had a quarterback who was at a prep school. That's where you go from high school. Okay, then he went to a prep school, and then we helped him get an opportunity in D3 football from New York. We had a kid here, went to West Virginia Wesleyan, played football there. A kid from Florida, and now he's playing in football in Georgia. There's a kid here from Maryland. Now he's playing up in Massachusetts now at a D1 school. Kid in Ohio, running back. There's another Maryland football player, a couple of Maryland football players. There's a football player from Louisiana, Missouri right now, a kid at Missouri. And a Virginia student, won the state championship. Now he's a Virginia football player. And we even did basketball as well, as you see. And football again. Football is our primary sport, just because that's where my background is in football. But we've helped all kinds of sports. We talked to baseball and softball, wrestling, track and field people. We've seen soccer, volleyball, all kinds of sports. The process is the same for all the sports. The only thing that's a little bit different is your recruiting calendar, but the main frame is the same. Here's another thing I want to show you guys is, what are you spending on travel sports? A lot of people put their kids into club sports or travel sports because they want their kid to get looked at and they want them to go to college. So they're playing sports year round. One issue that I have that I did not mention is with travels, not just travel sports, but playing a sport year round. You have to be careful because you don't want a kid to get burnt out and then they don't want to play anymore. So if you play the same sport all year round, that's going to happen. Also, there's overuse injuries that could happen. We're using the same body parts, same throwing motions, and because you're putting a lot of wear and tear on your body because you're playing that sport year round. Sometimes you need a break. It's good to play multiple sports. Coaches like players who play multiple sports. And you're going to use different body parts. So you're going to use different movements. It's going to help your game to play different sports. And it's just going to show that you're a better athlete for multiple sports. You'll see there's a lot of big name guys who've played baseball and football and went pro in both sports. And it's definitely, you're definitely holding yourself back if you don't try to do something different. So travel sports, there's dues. I'm being very generous with these pricings. These are just a ballpark estimate. So you got to pay dues first, whether you're playing AAU basketball, you're playing travel baseball or softball, any type of travel sport, you got to pay dues to be on the team. Uniforms, and again, I'm being very generous with these pricing. You got your uniforms that you're going to get. So per player, you're going to spend about this much just for the uniforms. Again, being very generous with the prices here. The equipment, I'm pretty sure most of you parents spend more than this just on a baseball bat. Some baseball bats I've seen for up to $500. So I know you're spending a lot more than that in equipment, shoes or sneakers. For like AAU teams, sometimes they're like over 100 to $200 for one pair. So this is what you're spending on these travel sports just to get your kid an opportunity to get looked at by colleges, because you're hoping that they go to these tournaments and a coach might be there, or you're hoping that it's going to help their game so that way they can get to the college. Okay, this is what you're spending your money on. Hotels, the travel. I mean, for all the games and all the tournaments that you go to, this is a good estimate on how much you're spending for your child. And I'm not even including the price it costs for the parents who want to come and travel, or any siblings want to come and travel to watch, because you're going to pay probably double that. Tournaments, again, it costs money to enter tournaments. This is the money that's going to come out of that's going to be extra for you to participate in tournaments. Like each player is going to have to pay every time there's a tournament. Travel. So if you have to fly to different games, again, like I said, this is a very, very generous look at it. Like you could spend $500 round trip easy on a flight. That's just one. That's for one tournament. And some of you guys go to 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 tournaments. Maybe you don't have to fly to them all. You might have to drive, but again, it's a lot of money for whatever your goal is, to have your child or your student get noticed by a college or get improved so they can go to college. I mean, that's what the goal is for you guys to do this. And then there's food. And this is just for the one player. So you got to add in the food costs for mom and dad to go to restaurants and eat out at restaurants every night when they go to these tournaments. Not just every night, but you got to eat out for breakfast, eat out for lunch, eat out for dinner. And there's not even entertainment costs in there as well, because when you go to these tournaments, you got to play tickets to get into these games as well as a parent. So that's a ton of money that you're spending just on travel sports with the goal of helping your kid get to college. Okay, so I'm going to show you something that could save you a ton of money and a ton of time, less stress too, less wear and tear on your body. Okay. So we got an e-course called Do It Yourself Recruiting. So I took the blueprint that was given to me and I turned it into a course to give to you. So that way you can help yourself get recruited. You can do whatever it takes to focus on the things that actually work and get your stuff in the door and get a bunch of opportunities. As you see here, it says there's a directory of over 1,000 schools that I put together for you guys. You can just go to the directory and reach out to the school. And it's that simple. I'm going to show you how to do it and how to create that database. You can learn how to properly create a highlight film. Okay, so there's going to be footage on there on exactly what to do and exactly what not to do. And the number one thing that I really like is a lifestyle assessment. So if you want to go anywhere, you got to know where you're going first. So this lifestyle assessment is going to show, it's a fun exercise as well. It's going to show your student exactly what they want to do with their life after sports. Okay, it's very important to start thinking about that now. What do you want to do after sports? And just instead of just throwing a name out there and say, oh, I want to be this or I want to be that. This assessment is going to show them the lifestyle that they want to live, and then help them find a means of getting that lifestyle. And it has helped other kids change their majors and determine what they want to focus on, because you don't really know what you want until you actually get some kind of exposure to it. So this will help them with that. It's a very fun exercise. I recommend definitely printing out, working on that with your student athlete before doing the actual course, and then put that somewhere where they see it every day to know what their focus is. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to say, I want to do this, but then realistically, that's not going to get you to where you want to go. A lot of times people want to be a teacher, or they want to be whatever they want to be. And then when they get to real life, they say, oh man, I wish I would have done something different. Because what's important is how you live your life. What do you want your lifestyle to look like? When you get your job after college, they already start working on retiring. So people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want you to know, how do you want to live when you grow up? Right? Because we don't want to focus on Okay, now I got my career. Now what? Let's work on 30 years until I retire. Let's focus on living the best life that you want to live. That's what's important. And that's what's important for your student athlete as well. So here's a special webinar offer that I'm giving to you guys right now. It's a $3,000 value, right? This is for the cost of when I work with a student for for 3 years. It's about $3,000 that they spend, that they invest in. But the course itself is actually $997. But I'm going to give you that price half off just because you watch this webinar. For $497, you can get access to over 1,000 different schools. We're going to show you how to email these guys, how to contact these different guys or girls, these different coaches. We're going to show you everything you need to do in order to increase your opportunities, how to get invited to camps or invited to games. We're going to show you how to do that only for $497, and you'll be able to increase your opportunities and get the exposure that you're looking for. That's a great deal. Um, Definitely click on the link at the bottom, and it'll take you to the right website to get started. We also want you to share this with a friend, another family member. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Any student athletes that you have or that you know, maybe coaches who could use something like this for their program. This is a life changer, and it's a game changer for your student athlete, or if you have multiple kids. This now you know what to do, right? You know where to put your energy by doing this course. I only was able to cover a very, very minute and general amount of information right now, but the course is very detailed. So when you go to that, you are going to change your kid's life. You're going to change your life as well. So go ahead and do that. For more information on Recruit University, you can go to recruituniversity.org. That's our website there. You can also follow us on Twitter at Coach_Cortez. We're on Instagram at Recruit University, and find us on Facebook, Recruit University. Thank you for joining this webinar. Again, at the bottom below, make sure you click that link, and thank you for your time.